comes to the photograph of Dr. Johnson Pandit Esiama. Pandit is a Hindu scholar and philosopher.
So he's also a Hindu scholar.
He's your friend. You would know better. But says, restore monetary stability. President tax BOG governor and first deputy. So President John Mahama has tasked the Bank of Ghana to restore stability in the country's monetary system as he swore the new governor of the bank, I beg your pardon, Dr. Johnson Pandit Kwesi Esiama, and the first deputy governor of the bank, Dr. Zakari Mumuni, into office, with Dr. Esiama leading the bank. I'm confident that we will rebuild trust in the institution. We will restore stability and put our economy back on the path of sustained growth. That's according to President John Dramani Mahama. And Dr. Esiama has been talking about his priority areas, and we've been sharing that. So let's just run through the 6 priority areas, of Dr. Esiama. And these areas are recalibrate monetary policy strategy and policy framework, preserve exchange rate stability and limit excessive volatility, realign regulatory mandate to promote greater level of financial intermediation, boost financial inclusion and innovation to promote economic growth and promote greater fiscal and monetary coordination, and reverse Bank of Ghana's negative equity position.
Yeah, those are some very taxing targets that he's set for himself. But every person I have spoken to, I haven't met him yet, but every person I've spoken to about him has indicated that he's a person of great ability. And if anyone can do these things, then it's Dr. Esiama. The fact is that there's a lot of expectation on him. A lot will ride on his ability to do the job well and independently, because it was a lack of independence that led the Bank of Ghana to its current position. And we certainly don't want a repeat
and
of
that's
that.
why, for President John Mahama's comment, I really want to hold it, because often the challenge has been allowing the Bank of Ghana to exercise their full mandate without any external, the independence that we've all been pushing. If you come to appreciate the structures of the Bank of Ghana and their workings, very great guys, the kind of work they're doing, and even certain things that they push for when it comes to the fiscal space. So if you are going to allow these men, they're very fine people doing great work, to work and heed to their advice, I think that a lot of the challenges that we've gone through in the economic space will be solved in terms of the full independence for them to do their work.
The thing about what happened in 2022 thereabout, the laws actually show that where you have to go beyond the threshold, you should inform Parliament. Now, the then governor, Dr. Addison, says he had informed the finance ministry, and it was his belief that the finance minister should have informed Parliament. So he had done his part. But it must also be stated that at that time, but for the Bank of Ghana stepping in, would have been in a worse situation. So the Bank of Ghana only stepped in to remedy a deteriorating situation. Yes, they didn't go by the legally laid down route because they didn't inform Parliament, but it was a needed intervention at that point in time. Also, it must be said that subsequently, we then found ourselves in a domestic debt exchange program. And one of the most hit was the Bank of Ghana, because then the government needed to actually restructure a certain amount. They didn't get it. They had to go to the Bank of Ghana and make sure that they restructure that amount also, that loan that they are taking from the Bank of Ghana. But also on the front page, President Mahama delivers maiden State of the Nation address tomorrow. And so that's on the 27th of February. He will deliver his first State of the Nation address as President of the Republic of Ghana again. He's delivered that before, but as President again, he will deliver his State of the Nation address. Minister urges foreign missions to improve conditions at visa centers. And this is one that I'm sure many of you will be interested in. So let me bring you some details of that particular story. And so the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, has directed all embassies and high commissions in the country to put in place appropriate and humane conditions at their visa centers to create a more convenient environment for applicants. Now, the directive follows the numerous complaints by the public about how Ghanaian citizens are usually treated when they visit foreign missions in Ghana for visa applications. And this one says he was speaking to the Daily Graphic. We've seen the statement also that he's issued. Yes,
and yesterday on the Joy News Prime, is it? The immediate Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs was on. He was making an argument about whether there should be the approach, even though it's a good one, about personally engaging these ambassadors and high commissioners in the country to kind of push, you understand me, in terms of trying to improve these conditions. His argument was that there's the public notice, the effect of that. But he also made a very interesting revelation, because he has also been a former high commissioner to South Africa before, that the money that these embassies make from just the visa fees, that should be enough to even provide a very good environment for prospective visa applicants just to enjoy whilst trying to get their visas. And I understand that even in some countries, when you refuse a visa, even in the African countries, they refund your money to you, because what you have paid for is for access to the visa. You know, and it's interesting. Sometimes you see some of them even queuing in the sun.
But you see, you want to say something?
No, I'm listening to you guys.
You see some of them queuing in the sun.
Yeah.
But why are they queuing in the sun?
Because
they're queuing in the sun also because sometimes there are a lot of people wanting to leave this country. You see?
To go to
in
conference.
search of greener pastures.
Not everybody who applies for
no,
visa.
I haven't said that. I haven't said that. But I've also said that. You see, sometimes. That's why I use this word sometimes.
Okay.
I mean, we all travel outside the country.
Yeah.
There are
Went to
instances.
school and came back.
You know, yes, went to school and came back. Yes, you know, but see, there are instances where, so if you go to VFS, for instance, a visa application center for a lot of these embassies and high commission, that one you would have booked, so you just get there. So you know that this is the time I'm supposed to be there. So when you get there, you know the time you're supposed to be there, and you go through a very humane environment. Yeah. But there are others also that people would show up very early. I think also that we need to find out, for instance, why a lot of our people, and look, in May, the Ishmael Yamson and Associates and Joy Business, Joy News, we're having a conversation on how we can mitigate the youth exodus, for instance, leveraging on public-private partnership, because a lot of people want to leave this country today. Right? So I would also, while it's important that they are treated well, I also would ask, why are a lot of our people leaving the country?
Look, I personally think it's a good thing that the foreign minister has made this admonition, because sometimes we seem to forget the dynamic. These people have missions in our country as a result of the bilateral relationship we have with them. It's not a master-servant relationship. It's bilateral, right? So you are the United States of America, but we have permitted you to have a mission in our country. We've done that because we have interests. We have mutual interests. There are things, there are things on our agenda that we need your help with. There are things on your agenda that you need our help with. It's supposed to be a mutual relationship, not a master-servant relationship. Now, go to the American embassy in Germany or Kuwait or any of the countries or any other country outside Africa, and you will realize that the problems that we have in the embassy in Ghana don't exist there. People are applying from there to also go to the US, but they don't have those problems. Where in Ghana, if you're applying for a visa, sometimes it's going to take you 3-4 months to even get an appointment. Then you go and queue in the sun. Look, they just don't care. They don't care enough to invest in solving that problem. Otherwise, they would have solved it. It's a logistics problem. You have lots of people applying for something. You just have to figure out a way of making sure that your system doesn't get backlogged. Do you think that in the US, if lots of people were applying for something, they wouldn't figure out how to do it so that you don't wait 3 months for it? They would have figured it out.
Yeah.
But they don't care enough. This is my personal view of this. So I'm glad a government official in Ghana is telling them that, look, these are Ghanaian citizens. They are coming to you to apply for a service. You don't have to make them go through inhuman conditions just to acquire the thing that they are applying for. You wouldn't do that in other countries. It's as simple as that.
Let's do the Ghanaian Times. Strengthening educational system, bring back experimental schools, Dr. Amatia advocates. And also Lands Minister sets new standards for mining cores. And also don't mistreat visa applicants. That says the ministry, the Foreign Affairs Ministry. GIS, the national security must collaborate to strengthen border security and also uphold a responsible fiscal management. The president to the governor of the Bank of Ghana.
Bring back what? Experimental schools?
Yes.
To do what?
So part of educational, maybe proposal educational.
To do experiments.
So this whole experimental school, I think it's interesting. See, this whole experimental school, we had done the much talked about Jobo Committee of 1972 to 1974. And it was the Jobo Committee that actually proposed junior secondary schools and senior secondary schools. Now, we did not implement Jobo Committee's report fully. So what we did was actually to start experimental schools, to experiment that model that he was talking about. So, and we had talked about TVETs at the time, technical and vocational education. So many of these experimental schools were also to pilot some of these things. Now, that led to the establishment of experimental JSS and all of those things. But by 1987, when under the IMF's direction and the World Bank, we decided to implement the 1987 educational reforms, which led to JSS and SSS.
Yeah.
These experimental schools, there wasn't much about them again. Today, it is true that we have deviated from the whole concept of TVET at the basic school. Because even with the TVET at the basic school, the original plan, for those of us who went to JSS, was to predispose you to technical and vocational education. So, George, remember there was technical skills and technical drawing. Then we had vocational skills where you had to choose what you wanted to specialize in. I remember we did basketry in our in our school, but I didn't understand this whole technical skills and technical drawing until I was studying for a master's degree at Cardiff University. Then I decided to find out why Ghana had done a lot of educational reforms. It was only at that time that I understood why I was studying technical drawing and technical skills. I mean, when I was in JSS. And that in itself is a problem with the educational system, because people are studying things they don't even understand. Anyway.
To the new finder, Consolidated Bank Ghana Commission's new lab and theatre at Latte. Trade, Agribusiness and Industry Minister visits Akosombo Textiles, and Ghana's informal sector holds 80% of jobs in the country, according to a report by the Ghana Statistical Service.
Yes, I mean, yesterday I was talking about it, that 80% of our jobs are in the informal sector. And we do that thing and say also 80%
taxing them?
We need to
an opportunity to tax them.
No, but we need to formalize them.
The argument is about the expenditure in going after these people in that space. How much it will also cost you, because you're struggling to even identify them.
We need to.
But that is a one-off cost.
Okay.
Once you incur that cost and figure out the problem, from that point onwards, you now have 80% more people to tax every single month, every single year, for the rest of eternity. So however much you spend solving that problem, it's worth it.